Alright, so welcome back to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe if you're new, and let's get straight into today's video. As you guys can see, we're going to be doing our tier list on all the 5-star or SSR characters in the game for Voyage of the Four Seas. And if you guys have been following our YouTube channel for the past year or so with island battle videos and all that good stuff, just like those videos, I'm going to be explaining all the relevant characters as to why they are rated on the tier list. It's something I feel a lot of other YouTubers don't do. So we're going to be explaining all of that and explaining the tiers as well. So triple S, double S, we have S, same as I always do. Um, Instead of D tier, we have food. So since this game is a promotion system where you have to use other characters in the game to upgrade your stronger characters, using dex type characters in order to upgrade other dex type characters, you use the same food of the same type of characters. That's what food means in the game. These characters you want to just use to upgrade your other better characters in the game. So, now this tier you can be extremely harsh and put a hell of a lot more characters in the food tier list, but we're not going to be that harsh. For starters, maybe later on when I update the tier list, I'll be a lot harsher, but all these characters, I'm not going to go over the names, I don't even remember half the names of the characters in One Piece because it's been quite some time since I've watched the start of the anime. But all these characters, Burgess, Smoothie, all these characters are just not good in the game. And they never will be good in the game. So they're all food characters, you just use them. Sometimes you might want to 9-star them and use them to, awake 10, 12, 11-star your other characters. Um, or just use their base dupes as normal as well. So all these characters, Moria, Smoker, you can use them early game, but I wouldn't really invest in them to be honest. So yeah, they're all the food characters at the moment. Obviously, you can be a lot harsher and put a lot more characters. Like, I'm gonna be honest, Ray Lee, in my opinion, is just food. Like, and even all the characters in C tier are just food, but you can use them early game, so, you know, we're just putting the characters in C tier as early game characters. So the early game characters that you'll probably come across and are a lot easier to upgrade than some of the other characters. You have Soga King, get him for free in the game. He's a really good early game character. Um, Ace, maybe you get an Ace early game. Frankie, early game tank, pretty good. Same as Kuma. All these early game characters, but you replace them later on throughout the game. Magellan, Vivi. Vivi's not bad, but again, some of these characters have a better version of Some of these characters have a better version of them, so there's really no point in maxing them out. I wouldn't go further than 9 stars because you'll use them as food, just the same as these food characters down the bottom. Later into the game, they all just become food characters because they're just better versions of these characters. You have Frankie, Kuma as tanks, but later in the game, Kaido and Big Mom are the way better tanks, so they're a better version. Same as Vivi. Disrupting attacks, you're better off just using Doflamingo because, when you awake him or get him to 10 stars, you can unlock his Haki and he removes all the buffs, which are absolutely amazing. Just a better version of Vivi. So these characters, you can use them early game, but that's about it. I wouldn't invest in them any higher than 9 stars in my opinion. Alright, so now moving on to the B tier characters. Again, these characters, you can focus on them early game. They're a lot stronger than the C and food tier characters, obviously, but again, I wouldn't go higher than 9 stars. Some of the characters in this list, like Jambra or Jabra, or whatever his name is, I can't remember. He's a CP9 character. Um, all I remember is he's a CP9 member, and he's one of the characters. There's 2 characters on this tier list that I think are completely underrated in the game at the moment. And this guy is going to be an absolute beast for bosses. PvE bosses, when you fight that one boss, whatever character it is, probably be Marco on the second week of the game. He will do so much damage, and his ultimate, he has an 80% damage reduction for 4 seconds. And then he stacks up every second up to 45% attack. He's absolutely insane. He stuns, puts the boss behind so it doesn't attack your other crew. He's absolutely insanely underrated in my opinion, this guy, for PvE. PvP, you know, in arena and stuff, you're not going to use him, but yeah. So we're just putting him in B tier for now. I do feel he's going to be a lot higher than B tier in my opinion. So then we have some of these other characters like Bo, Rayleigh. As I said, they could be considered, you know, later in the game as food characters as well. And then Jinbei as well. Jinbei is a lot harder to get. But yeah, these characters, again, I wouldn't go higher than 9 stars. Alright, moving on to the 18. Now, these characters are really good early game. You should focus on them early game. Mihawk, Kid, these are probably the, you know, the best characters for their camps. So the 3 camp, you know, Kid is going to be the best attack type character. And then you have Mihawk for Dex, who's really strong early game. Even like a 10 star, 11 star, Mihawk does so much damage, even mid game. It's quite insane how much damage Mihawk and Kid can do. So they're absolutely insane. Shanks is very good for PvE bosses, reduces the defense of the boss and then increases the magic damage the boss takes. So he's actually really good for PvE bosses. PvP, I wouldn't really use him in my opinion. He's not that insane of a character besides PvE bosses. Now moving to Croc. Croc is the other underrated character in my opinion in this tier list. So what he does is he pulls in the characters towards him and then he takes less damage. He could be very, very good if you pull in the enemy's, you know, DPS, damage dealer, at the very start of the battle and then just instantly nuke them. So you have to position him correctly, but he can be really, really good in situations like that. And then Luffy as well is a very good boss damage dealer. So that's the A tier there. Moving on to the S and double S tiers. Now Nami and Law, I've seen some tier lists before, and Nami and Law was so underrated earlier in the game. People having them at like B and C tier for some reason, and they're actually really, really good. You know, just reading over the character's skills and abilities, like, there's no way they were ever B and C tier. There's such good characters in the game, so it's really good to see people moving them up to, you know, A and S tier. So they're definitely S tier characters. Nami's absolutely insanely good for arena, because she also reduces all the rage of the enemy crew, and then, you know, if you have Ivanov, she can ult again, and she does more damage based on how much less rage the enemy has. So she's absolutely insane, and the 2 best things in this entire game, or the 2 most broken things in this entire game, is rage and healing. They're the 2 strongest things in this entire game. Rage, obviously, if you can ult first before your opponent, you know, you're most likely going to win the battle. Increasing initial rage, reducing rage, generating more rage with pace. You know, rage is absolutely broken in this types of games because it's all about real-time PvP. There's no turns or anything. This isn't a turn-based game, so that's why rage is absolutely broken in this game, and healing is absolutely insane. Because as you guys are going to probably see when we get to some characters like Marco, you know, he's absolutely insane. He can be a super tank and just tank teams. It's insane the amount of healing is in this game. There's not many characters or items that actually reduce healing in this game, so yeah, rage and healing is broken, so that's why Nami and some other characters are up here. Unfortunately, Fujitora suffers from what is called cast timing, so in order to activate his ultimate, it takes 3 seconds to use it, and during that time he could be CC'd, or, you know, he could just die, because in 3 seconds the enemy ults and then he's just dead. So that's a big problem, his cast time in the game. So yeah. So that's Fujitora, and now absolutely amazing early game DPS. If you can't get Garp early, and now is absolutely insanely good. One of the best magic damage dealers in the entire game. He's really, really good for PvE bosses because he does burst damage on a single target character. Garp is more of a PvP character because he's AoE ultimate. So, and it was really, really good. I would definitely upgrade the characters in S tier and above. This character does so much. He can increase pierce, he can reduce the enemy's healing on both front and back row. It's absolutely insane what this guy can do. So absolutely really good character, especially for PvE. He's mainly used for PvE. You know, when you're fighting bosses, your whole team doesn't get one shot. I highly recommend using him on manual and timing his ult just before the PvE boss uses their ult, then your team doesn't die. So yeah, he's absolutely insanely good. Hawkins, just another good healer in the game, besides Maiko. Alright, now moving on to our second tier SS tier characters. Alright, so I put in the SS tier characters. Obviously Ivanov as well can be SS tier. I'm gonna put him in triple S tier for now. Yeah, just shout out to Ivanov, he can be SS tier. It's really debatable. But since he's in every single team of their game and he's completely mandatory for PvE bosses, we're going to put him in triple S tier. Now going over the SS tier characters, we have Big Mom, Kaido, obviously the two best tanks in the entire game. And we're not putting them in triple S tier specifically because tanks are not broken in this game. They can't 1v6, 1v5 an enemy team and win, or solo timeout. Marco can actually solo timeout teams because healing's completely broken in this game, as we said. So that's why they're not up there. It's not like Island Battle where Orochi can 1v6 timeout teams. So tanks aren't broken in this game, so we're not putting them in triple S tier. Now the Chaos characters with Zoro, Ashura, and Gear 5 Luffy, we've put them in double S tier specifically because they are only for pay-to-play players at the moment in the game. Obviously, Zoro is way better than Gear 5 Luffy with his HP lock effect. He's a solo machine, so he's definitely better than Gear 5 Luffy. If you are going to spend money in the game, I would spend it on getting your Zoro up and not Gear 5 Luffy. So, yeah, Sengoku is here as a marine type tank, so if you want a marine type team, Katakuri would be triple S tier if this tier list was specifically just PvE. He is an absolute PvE god. This guy is the best PvE character in the entire game. He will do so much damage to bosses. Absolutely insane with the amount of stacks he can stack up and do so much crit damage, crit rate. It's just insane. This character is absolutely amazing. Zephyr, really the only marine healer in the entire game, so if you're going for a full marine team, you got to use Zephyr. And then Doflamingo, this character is double S if you have him awakened. You got to have him awakened, so in order to unlock his ability to remove all the buffs from the enemy team on his ultimate. So you need to run pace, rage. You want as much rage regeneration as possible with pace, and you want him to just constantly wrap the enemy and remove buffs. So that's basically how he works. You need him awakened in order to do that, so 10 stars. So it's a little bit underwhelming when it comes to below 10 stars because you can get Marco a second week into the game and Marco just purifies everything that he does. But once you get him to 10 stars and you do get that ability on his ultimate, he's actually really, really good with a pace build. So that's the double S characters there. Alright, and finally we've come to our triple S tier. Obviously these characters are absolutely insanely broken in the game, and you definitely want to focus on these characters as much as possible in the game. Now, the first two characters, Yamato and Garp, are the two strongest damage DPSs in the entire game. Garp, AoE ultimate can one-shot entire teams. It's insane the amount of damage this guy does. He's not that great for PvE bosses because, you know, AoE ultimate needs to get those haki stacks on the enemy to deal more damage. His basic skill stuns, which is absolutely insanely good. So, yeah, by far the best DPS in the game. However, Yamato is designed specifically to defeat the enemy DPS carry. So most people in the game you'll find will run Garp as their main DPS, and Yamato actually counters Garp, so that's why she's triple S. She does additional amounts of damage to the enemy's highest attack character or their DPS, so she can wipe Garps instantly. And on her basic ability, you know, she has freeze, which is absolutely amazing for PvE content. Not really bosses, but for, you know, impelled down, you're getting the freeze out, stalling enemy, being able to get your ultimates. Champ's Road as well, climbing in Champ's Road. And then obviously we have Marco, by far the best healer in the entire game. I was so surprised when I first got Marco, and he purifies constantly. I think that is completely broken. The fact that he constantly heals and constantly purifies all the debuffs on all your team members is really broken. It really should only purify once, not constantly. So yeah, he's absolutely broken. He can solo tank teams just by perma healing. So he's really broken. And then Whitebeard is here. A lot of people are probably wondering, why is Whitebeard triple S tier? Well, as I said, Rage is completely broken, the number one thing in this game. And Whitebeard's passive grants 90 Rage every 3 seconds. So if your opponent has Whitebeard and you don't have Whitebeard, they're going to activate all their ults before you do. And you're most likely going to lose the battle because, yeah, they have so much Rage regeneration, it's absolutely insane. So he's a must-have on every single team in the entire game. Unless you want to build up a ton of initial Rage on all your characters, like 200 plus initial Rage, then maybe you can replace him. But yes, if you don't have that, which a lot of people won't have, you can't replace him, and he's just so good for that. And then Ivanov, as I said, this character is more of a cheese character, I'm going to be honest. He can be double S, triple S, it's debatable. This character, absolutely must-have character for PvE bosses, because, you know, he ults, gives Rage to your highest attacking character. He can increase the damage the enemy takes, which is absolutely insanely good for PvE bosses. Yeah, the boss is taking more damage, and he increases attack for all allies on your team as well, which is absolutely insanely good. So he's by far probably the best support in the entire game. He honestly, in my opinion, shouldn't be in the game because, you know, Rage is so broken, and giving more Rage to your highest attacker so he gets more ults, you know, double ulting on Garp is completely broken. So yeah, that's why his triple ST is used pretty much every single team in the entire game. Everyone runs him, so yeah. So that's the explanation for all the characters. I really hope it helped you guys, and I really hope to see you guys in the next video.